On a crisp autumn morning, Samuel gazed out of his apartment window, the city humming beneath him. Life in the metropolis had been a relentless barrage of noise, obligations, and ceaseless connectivity. He had a flourishing career, a social life bustling with events, and yet a gnawing emptiness persisted. "Is this all there is?" he whispered to himself, his voice barely audible over the hum of the air conditioning. For years, he'd silenced that question with excuses, deadlines, responsibilities, and the fear of missing out. But now, it screamed for acknowledgement. One evening, as Samuel scrolled aimlessly through his phone, an ad popped up. "Escape to the wilderness, reclaim your peace." It was for a secluded cabin rental in the heart of a sprawling forest, far removed from the digital labyrinth he called life. Without overthinking, he booked it for a month. The first day in the cabin was disorienting. Surrounded by towering pines and the sound of rustling leaves, Samuel realized how accustomed he'd become to the background buzz of city life. The silence was almost deafening. His phone, useless without reception, lay forgotten on a wooden table. There were no notifications to check, no emails to reply to, only the vast expanse of nature to confront. By the third day, Samuel began to notice things he'd long overlooked: the intricate patterns on a tree bark, the symphony of bird calls, the way sunlight filtered through the canopy. He spent hours walking trails, his thoughts meandering as freely as his steps. With every passing day, he felt layers of stress and pretense peeling away. In the absence of schedules and expectations, Samuel's mind started to untangle. He journaled, capturing thoughts and feelings he hadn't dared to articulate in years. Some entries were raw with pain, others shimmered with newfound clarity. One morning, he stumbled upon a stream. The water was crystalline, its gentle flow mirrored his inner transformation. He sat on a nearby rock, gazing into the depths. "What am I running from?" he wondered aloud. The answer came not in words, but in the profound stillness that enveloped him. He wasn't running, he was searching. As days turned into weeks, Samuel became attuned to the rhythms of his environment. He rose with the sun, prepared meals with an almost meditative focus, and ended his days by the fire, watching the flames dance. Loneliness, a sensation he'd feared, had been replaced by a comforting solitude. Here, he wasn't an employee, a friend, or a son. He was simply Samuel. Yet, the wilderness also presented its challenges. There were nights when the howling wind sounded like whispers of doubt. Will anyone understand this choice? Am I isolating myself too much? Such questions haunted him, but each dawn brought reassurance. The forest was impartial. It didn't judge his decisions or demand explanations. One particularly stormy evening, Samuel found himself reflecting on a memory that had long tormented him. Years ago, he distanced himself from a close friend, unable to maintain the relationship amidst his hectic lifestyle. In the glow of the fire, he acknowledged the regret he'd buried. "I'm sorry," he murmured into the void, tears streaming down his face. It was a catharsis he hadn't known he needed. As the month drew to a close, Samuel felt both a sense of accomplishment and an unexpected reluctance to leave. The cabin had become a sanctuary, a place where he'd rediscovered himself. But he knew the lessons he'd learned weren't meant to stay confined to this secluded haven. Back in the city, Samuel approached life with a newfound perspective. He set boundaries, valuing quality over quantity in his relationships. He prioritized moments of stillness, carving out pockets of solitude, even amidst the urban chaos. The incessant hum of notifications no longer dictated his days. He was in control. Over time, he shared his experience with others. Some were intrigued, others dismissive. But Samuel didn't need validation. He'd discovered that solitude wasn't about loneliness. It was about freedom. Freedom from expectations, from the clamor of constant connectivity, and most importantly, from the barriers he'd built within himself. In the end, Samuel's journey wasn't about abandoning the world. but learning how to engage with it authentically. The forest had taught him that true peace isn't found in escape, but in embracing the balance between connection and solitude. And so, with each passing day, he carried the lessons of the wilderness within him, a quiet reminder that sometimes to find ourselves, we must first dare to be alone.